Hi, Rohan. Nice to see you, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you, Paige. Happy to be here.
I'm Paige Hayes, and I lead PwC's Global Alliance with AWS. And Rohan is joining me today to have a candid cloud conversation about migration and modernization.
Hi, I'm Rohan Karmarkar. I lead the Global System Integrator Solution Architecture teams here at AWS.
Maybe before we dive in and start to talk about what we're both seeing in the market, we could just spend a minute and kind of level set on terminology, because I know when I'm talking to clients, I'm hearing them talk about migration, modernization, refactoring, replatforming, and probably a variety of other terms. And I think it would be helpful if we could all level set on what we mean by those things and really how you think about modernization and migration at AWS.
No, that's a good question. When we see customers moving to cloud, we typically see six different patterns. We call them the 6 Rs. The first one is, obviously the rehost, which is also known as the lift and shift, where customers try to move applications at scale to get the business value from it. The second approach is what we call replatforming, where the core architecture of the application doesn't change, but as you move to cloud, you do some optimization. For example, instead of spending a lot of time managing your databases, you would rather want to use database as a service platform, such as Amazon Relational Database as a Service or Amazon RDS. The third, pattern that we see is called the refactoring or re-architecture, where you're looking at building new architectures using cloud native features. Now, the drivers for this pattern is, whether you're trying to add new features as well as probably improve scalability or performance of these applications. The fourth is the repurchase or replace, where instead of using the legacy perpetual licensing model, you want to use a SaaS model. A good example of that would be, instead of using a legacy perpetual licensing contact center solution, you would use Amazon Connect on AWS, or move your CRM systems to salesforce.com. The fifth pattern that we see is what we call retire, where when you're doing the application portfolio analysis, you realize that some of the applications are no longer needed and those applications need to be retired. And the sixth is what we call retain, where you might want to revisit some of the applications at a later stage to move to cloud, and in the interim have a hybrid deployment model.
That's really helpful, Rohan. I appreciate it. And I think it's important because it's not just CIOs and technologists that are really both talking about the move to the cloud, but also making the investment decisions. I think I mentioned to you, we do a regular CEO survey. We did one in February. And in that survey, CEOs told us that at least more than 80% of the ones that we talked to told us that they were going to spend more this year on digital transformation than they have in the past. And that it wasn't just going to be their CIOs that were making those decisions. It was going to be their CFOs and their CHROs and their business unit leads and others in the organization that would really be weighing in. So I think, getting aligned and understanding and using the same language to talk about the move to the cloud is really, really important. What do you see typically as some of the challenges as large organizations start to think about moving to the cloud?
Yeah, you would be surprised that some of those challenges are not technical in nature, right? They are about people and culture. So as you see, organizations making that decision, and organizations who've successfully moved to cloud, there are some common themes that would come up. The first one I would say is around, having a top-down commitment to move to cloud, right? Where the senior leadership is setting the direction and aligned and committed to move their organization to cloud. And then they basically, get everyone on the same page and execute against that, objective. The second one would be around setting goals, because you would want to, move in a very aggressive manner to as many applications as you can to get the maximum value, right? So goal setting is very important. The third and the most important one, in my opinion, is, getting your people ready to migrate to cloud as well as operating in cloud, right? That's where a lot of training and enablement comes in. The things that you do on premises, those kind of evolve, the processes, the mechanisms. So that's where we train hundreds and thousands of people to be able to not just migrate applications to cloud, but also to operate in the cloud environment.
I would agree with all of those. We often tell our clients that it's really, really important to think about what the outcomes are that you're trying to achieve and really get aligned on those before you do anything. I think without that alignment around objectives or desired outcomes, you end up spending money on a lot of kind of disconnected technology projects that the business people aren't necessarily invested in because they view it as being all about the infrastructure or the technology and not really being about how it's going to impact their business. So I think you're spot on with all of those.
So, Paige, what are some of the business outcomes that you see clients, are trying to achieve with the cloud technologies?
First and foremost, it's really growth. I mean, our pulse surveys, which are surveys of a variety of different executives that we do throughout the year, have shown that the thing that they're trying to spend money on is driving growth, whether that's money on technology or anything else in the organization. And the cloud can be really helpful for that. We see people moving to the cloud in order to innovate more quickly and get products to market more quickly. We see them using it to try to test and learn and really say what's working and what's not working. We see them using cloud and cloud technologies like AI and ML to really make better business decisions around growth, as well as to embed those capabilities into product offerings that they're taking to market. And so we really see that being the primary driver is trying to figure out how do you use cloud as a way to really propel growth forward for these organizations.
Thank you, Paige. Now, depending on these business outcomes, right, can you share some specific customer or industry examples with us?
Sure. By way of example, let's take aerospace and defense. That's an industry where we see they absolutely want to experience growth, but they're trying to figure out how do they do that without also growing their cost line at the same pace. And so they're thinking about the cloud as a way to really deliver services more cost effectively, be able to be more cost competitive in the market, and then use that advantage to really drive their top line growth. Rohan, are the benefits of the move to the cloud immediate? What do you see in terms of how long it typically takes folks to see value from their efforts?
Now, sometimes we find organizations trying to, find a way to move the last workload to the cloud, which kind of leads to a situation of, paralysis without testing or moving some of those workloads to cloud. That's where I think the phased manner or iterative approach is much better, in which partners such as PwC and AWS can help our customers do the portfolio assessment and come up with a short term, medium term, as well as the long term plan for migration. And as you start moving some of these applications to cloud, you learn from it, right? You get better from it. As well as there are different optimization techniques that might come in handy as you start moving more and more applications. So the value is as soon as you move those first applications, right, you'll start realizing that value, and that value can be accelerated over time as you migrate more and more applications.
That's helpful. So next steps, if our clients are thinking about trying to make this move and they're not well on their way already, when I think about what actions people should take, I really think about that alignment stage first. You talked about it a little bit when you articulated the challenges. I certainly see it when I'm talking to clients about what's working and not working in their journey. I think getting that alignment up front is really, really key. What do you want to achieve with this move to the cloud? What's it going to do for your business? How's it going to enable you to grow or accomplish whatever goals and objectives you have? But getting aligned on that in the beginning, I think is key to a successful roadmap and successful execution. What about you?
Absolutely right. Right. If you look at the questions have shifted from why and if to when do we move to cloud. And if you really start laying out the strategy and the plan, the answer you're going to get is we want to move now, right? And in the current situation, in the pandemic as well, the cloud transformations have been accelerated. And migrations are just the beginning of it, right? As you start doing migrations, you'll see a lot of opportunities to optimize. You'll see a lot of opportunities to improve, get agility, drive more innovation. And that really unlocks the value across the whole IT chain, right? And that also helps modernizing your IT processes as well. So I would say, that's the next steps here, right? Is to think about how do you want to get started on that journey.
Rohan, thanks again so much for joining me today. It was great to spend some time with you, and hopefully everybody learned a little something. At PwC, we really value the relationship that we have with AWS and enjoy going to market together and helping our clients really figure out how to get the most of this great technology. So thanks again for being with us.
Thank you for having me here, and look forward for our alliance going forward as well.